I know I've told the story before, but I don't remember when I told the story before, but I think it was a long time ago. So I'll tell it again. This story happened, must have been about 20 years ago, I guess already. Time just flies. So 20 years ago, 15 years ago. The story goes like this. I was coming back from doing Mivtzoim. I every Friday, I go to this big marketplace in Tel Aviv, and I have a table there and a few pairs of tefillin, and I take a few people with me, and we ask people to put on tefillin, and usually very successful. But the problem is in the winter. In the winter, the Shabbat comes really early. Anyway, so I won't go into the details, but coming back, I made a minor traffic offense. There was this line that had not been there the week before, and I went over the line, whatever it was. They draw the line. So a policeman jumped out from behind a bush or something that was waiting there, and just to catch people that did what I did, and he pulled me over. So he said, license and registration. So I showed him the license. So he said, okay, come to the car. So I go to the car. There's a lot of more details to the story, but I'm leaving out. But I just want to tell the story. So he looks and he says, oh, you're from Chabad, huh? So I said, oh, yeah. So I figured he's going to say, oh, Chabad, I like Chabad. You don't have to go home. It's getting late. It's like, it's like an hour before Shabbat and I have things to do. So I figured he's going to say, oh, yes, you're Chabad, just go. So he said, I had a big miracle from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he takes out this pad and he's writing the ticket, right? He's writing the ticket. So I figured, it's not too late, he'll finish writing it and then he'll say, but Chabad, I'll tear it up or something. Anyway, so I'm hoping for the best. He said, I had a big miracle from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, big miracle. So, I figured maybe I'll get, friendly with the guy. He'll throw away with a ticket. And also, I really wanted to hear the story. The fact is, I wanted to hear the story. So we're standing there. This is like a little traffic island where we're standing, where I pulled my car over to this traffic island, and the cars are whizzing by, and he's telling me the story. Meanwhile, he's writing. Right? So, and he's looking at his watch and what time it is, and he's writing the details down. So he tells a story like this. He says that this story happened like 10 years before now. In other words, the date that he's giving me the ticket, he's right now on the ticket, he's standing and saying, this is the story that happened 10 years ago. That he was a motorcycle policeman 10 years ago, and someone went through a red light and smashed into his motorcycle and sent him cascading over this sort of embankment. It was like, 20 feet down or something. And he fell down. And it just happened to be that another police car was passing by, saw the whole thing, called an ambulance, arrested this guy who hit him. The ambulance came and took him to the hospital. And they said that, you're lucky that if it would have been another minute or so, you would be dead. And they started doing operations on me. He's telling the story. They started doing operations. They did 15 operations on my back. I'd broken my spine in several places, severely. So they did all these operations on my back. And finally, after all the operations, they put me in recovery and I got all recovered. And they said, what a big miracle that you're still alive and that you're not totally paralyzed. And everybody's congratulating me, but I was half paralyzed. Half paralyzed means like the whole right side of my body was useless. My arm just hung there like a sack of potatoes, and my face fell down. And everyone was telling me, "Oh, how lucky I am! How lucky I am!" But meanwhile, I couldn't work, and what can I do? I could just sit at home, and I had to be wheeled around everywhere. And I really got depressed. I got terribly depressed. And my doctor called me up. The doctor called me up and he said, listen, according to the last checkup, your situation is deteriorating and it's getting worse. And what I suggest is my doctor said that he read in a medical journal that there's an experimental process being used and it's had 20% success of renewing nerves. taking nerves that have been severed or broken or atrophied or whatever it is, and renewing them. And my doctor said, I think it's worth, you should try it. Because if you don't, in just, maybe a half a year, whatever, you're going to be totally paralyzed. So he said, I'll send you the information. So in those days, there was faxes. That was the big thing, was a fax. So he said he sent me the information on the fax. And I looked, and I called up the place and I talked to them and I decided I'm going for it. I'll go for it. So I set the operation. The operation was supposed to be in another 2 weeks. So we made reservations for a hotel in Germany, somewhere in Germany. We made reservations for a hotel. And the date is coming close, right? The date is coming close. It's Friday. And that next Wednesday, I'm supposed to have the operation. So I'm going to fly on Tuesday, right? For the operation. So it's Friday. All of a sudden, one of my friends knocks on the door, comes in with this religious kid, a Chabad kid, religious kid. So this fellow telling me the story, his name was David Malul. I still did the ticket. So he said, I'm not religious. At that time, I was tremendously anti-religious. Tremendously. I hated the religious people. That was like sort of the thing to do in Israel. It was the religious people are parasites. They're terrible. They're disease. So anyway, he brings this kid in. So I told my friend, I said, please get out of here. Take this religious parasite, get him out of my house. I don't want him. I've got enough troubles. I don't want. He said, no, you don't understand. This is Chabad. I said, Chabad, Shmabad, what are you talking about? I know what they want. They want money. I'm not going to give them a penny. These people, they're leeches. They don't do it. He said, no, they don't. He doesn't want money. Said, what does he want? He says there's the Rebbe of Lubavitcher, and he cures people. He can cure people. Oh, so his Rebbe wants money. He says, he doesn't want, stop it. He says, okay, how is he going to connect? What does he want? He says he's going to send a fax. He says, listen, I have a fax machine. Give me the address of this Rebbe of his, and I'll write the letter, and I'll save my money. My friend says, stop thinking about the money. Here, give him the number. I gave him the number, the fax number of the Rebbe. He says, okay, what should I write? So the boy says, write and what your problem is and what you're requesting. So he said, okay. So he said, he says, my problem is that I'm sick, and I requested I should be well and I should be able to work. That's what I'm requesting. No details, no nothing. So we put it in the fax. I sent it off. I told the boy to get out of the house, and they did. Okay. And Shabbat. Motzi Shabbat, and I mean, this is like, at 6 o'clock in the morning or something, early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is after Shabbat. So the fax starts moving, right? And all of a sudden, a fax comes out, and my wife wakes us both up. Let me get this straight. Just 1 second. Oh, yeah. So the fax starts ringing, and my wife takes the paper out of the fax, and she says, it's a letter for you. It's from the Lubavitcher Rebbe's office. Must have been that as soon as Shabbat came out, as he wrote this to me. What did he write? He said, don't make the operation. The operation will not be necessary. And you'll get your old job back. So I said to my wife, let me see that. I took it with my left hand. I read it. I crumpled it up, threw it on the ground, and started cursing, yelling. If I would say those things now, if I would hear someone say those things now, I would punch them. So I started cursing. My wife said, what are you cursing for? I said, what do you mean, what am I cursing for? Don't you see this bluff? Don't you see that the whole thing is it's so transparent, the lie here? I said, what's the lie? I said something about an operation. I didn't say anything about an operation. How did this rabbi know about the operation? Because that boy told him. That boy went and he told the rabbi. Now they're going to say that it was a big miracle if something happens and that they want me to pay to give money for the miracle. I know these guys. And I'm going to get my old job back. Look at me. I'm half dead. How am I going to get the job back? So I said, forget it. So I hung up the phone. That's it. Okay. The next morning, that was Saturday night after Shabbat. Sunday morning, the phone rings. 5 o'clock in the morning. And I pick up the phone. I'm half asleep. is this Malul? Your name is David Malul? I said, yeah. He said, listen, I'm calling from the police department in Beersheba, and we're beginning a new motorcycle unit, traffic unit of theft. And we see here that you have experience. We'd like you to come down and apply for the job. We'll make, testing, medical testing to see if you're still fit. So I cursed them out. I said, what are you making jokes in the morning? They're practical jokes. I told them to drop dead, go to hell. I slammed the phone down. This is what he's telling me the story. Meanwhile, the cars are whizzing by. It's Erev Shabbos. And he's telling me this, policeman is telling me the story. He said, suddenly I closed the phone. Suddenly I looked and I saw that I picked up the phone with my right arm, with my paralyzed arm. So I thought that maybe I was dreaming. Maybe the whole thing was a big dream. And I looked at my hands and I moved them. They both moved. And I was pinching myself. All of a sudden, the phone rang again. And this time he said, I looked at my hand and I picked up the phone and I said, yes. He says, is this David Mulul? I said, yes, it is. He said, what do you cursed me out in the morning for? I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I had a dream. I had a dream that a fish was eating me. And I'm sorry, I got all confused. What do you want? He said, listen, we have an opening in the police department in Beersheba. We want you to come down for testing. If you want to, come down. If you don't, then don't come down. What do you have to curse me out? I said, listen, I told you, I apologize. I'm sorry. So then we canceled immediately. We canceled the whole thing in Germany, right? I lost the money for the hotel and we put a down payment for this. And I thought we cancel it for the operation. And I drove. He said the first time, I said I stood up and I walked, and I drove down there. He said I went down and they took tests. They took tests. They took X-rays. They took tests. I'm sorry. They also did testing and they asked me questions. And then, so they said, then the next Sunday, they called me up and they said that I'm in. I can be in. So I went down there with my X-rays from like 2 weeks ago that they took, and I showed it to the doctor. There was a doctor that when he made the medical testing. So the doctor said, "Oh, this person is this your father? I have a good doctor that I can refer him to." He said, "No, that's me." So the doctor said, "What do you mean it's you?" He said, "Look here in the corner. Here's my identification number, my Teudat Zut, and my name is." How could this be you? This is a person that had severe damage done to his spine, and he made operations. They were all operations. You can see the scars. Here you have no scars even. So this David Mulul guy says to me, and says, "Listen, I don't know how the Rebbe did it. I don't know how he did it, but for sure he did it." He said, one thing for sure, if you could cure me, my broken back, as for sure he's still alive in his body. That's what he said. He still is alive. Yechi Melech, whatever he said. I said, good, okay, and thank you very much. I said, listen, it was worth it. He gave me the ticket. I said, it was worth that ticket to hear that story. It was worth it. He said, it's not a ticket, it's a warning. So I looked at the thing and it was a warning. Well, I still have it somewhere in my house. It was only a warning. And so I said, wow, that what miracle just happened to me was bigger than the miracle that happened to you. I was just joking around. And he wasn't there. Obviously, he was in the street pulling more people over. So it seems that he didn't exactly keep Shabbat. But anyway, other people told me that he told the story to them. He used to be in the schools in where is someplace? It was in Yavne or something like that. And he used to go around the schools and tell the story. And I have a friend that said that he stopped him also for the same thing that I did. And he told him the story, but he gave him a ticket. He gave him a real ticket, not like mine. So it was a bit of a miracle that happened to me. But that's the idea of the Nachash and Achoshet that we just finished learning, that there were these terrible serpents and they killed people but by attaching them to their source, it transformed them to good. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, see you all tomorrow, God willing, 8:15. Thank you very much for attending.